It's called Omicron BA2, and it's up to 40% more transmissible than the original, and it's quickly becoming the dominant strain.
It's about time everybody got real and went and got vaccinated and got their boosters as quickly as possible.
That message aimed at the 35% of eligible Aussies who haven't yet had a third COVID shot.
We are seeing a new subvariant of Omicron, and that highlights even more so why it's important people go and get that third dose.
For those who are up to date, may not be for much longer.
It is necessary a fourth boost right now. The protection that you are getting from the third, it is actually quite good for hospitalizations and deaths. It's not that good against infections.
Pfizer CEO saying we may need to get used to the idea of having an annual shot, similar to the flu jab.
If we be able to achieve that, then I think it is very easy to follow and remember so that we can go back to really the way we used to live.
There's some great work looking at combined flu and COVID vaccines, and I think that would be a great way to keep people protected.
Chile, Sweden, Israel and Germany are already giving second boosters to high-risk populations. Countries like Japan and the UK are considering it. Here at home, authorities are looking at introducing another dose for those aged 65 and above.
We're expecting that advice from ATAGI within the next 3 weeks.
But experts say we need to be careful how much vaccine we use in the West, at the expense of countries that still have woefully low coverage.
We've heard time and time again that no one is safe till everyone is. We certainly need to look at that inequity and make sure those countries have good access before we really start looking at fourth and subsequent doses in countries like ours.
As to a broader second booster rollout here, most experts are convinced it's a matter of when, not if.
I'm confident we will need another booster. I expect it'll be between 6 or 12 months, but I think it's clear that 3 doses, even against the new subvariant BA2, is not going to be lifelong in terms of how long it protects us.
Epidemiologist Catherine Bennett joins us now. Catherine, we've just heard there that we're likely to need another booster, at least at some point. Do you agree it's necessary?
Well, we're certainly looking at that for people whose immunity wanes faster. So that's what ATAGI is looking at the moment. They're also the people at greatest risk of severe illness. So that's the thing we're most worried about. So we're looking across what's happening in other countries who rolled out their boosters earlier than us and how it responds with BA2. Though at this stage, that looks pretty similar to the BA1 variant in terms of the cover that we get. So, yeah, we're not sure yet if we need it by the time we come into our winter, or whether the lateness of our boosters will be enough to cover us, and or whether we start to see these combined or next generation vaccines with flu or special Omicron vaccines. That might change the story as well. So we're still learning what's in the vaccine pipeline as well.
You would have heard a number of conspiracies over the last few years, but can you myth bust for us the idea that we keep needing to get boosters because, well, it must mean the vaccines aren't working? Can you explain why the booster does not say at all that the other vaccines haven't been doing their job?
Well, it's not the first vaccine that, you don't have once in your lifetime and that's it. There's others, and particularly flu. We know we need that each year as the variants shift. So what's really changed here is the virus, unfortunately. These vaccines stack up really well against the original variants, and we're doing okay even against Delta with a booster. But it's the shift, this genetic shift in these latest variants, the subvariants of Omicron, that just mean the vaccine isn't as good a fit, and our immune response, therefore, isn't quite as good a fit. We get cross-immunity, we get protection from symptomatic illness, but it's not enough to cover us longer term until we get that more, either a universal vaccine that covers all variants or something that's more specific to the variants circulating now.
But the flu shot is like once a year, whereas this has been, for some people, 4 shots, it may be, in just slightly over a year. Are there any concerns that too much of the vaccine can be damaging in itself?
Yeah, look, it's also not the only vaccine where we do have multiple shots. Our childhood vaccines include that repeat vaccines to build up your immunity. So what we've seen so far is the primary course, which was 2 doses, then a gap. And the gap's really important to having that booster dose so that you mount a different kind of immune response. That's what gives us some protection from symptomatic infection with Omicron. But you're right, you don't want to be giving too many vaccines too close together, particularly to people whose immune response is okay for now. If you give them another dose, there's a risk you might undermine that. And that's what they're concerned about. And that's what our ATAGI really look at closely to make sure not just that we should have a booster, but exactly when and who. So it might not be the whole population.
Just on this new subvariant of Omicron, clearly it's more infectious. Do we know yet whether it's any more dangerous?
Look, we don't see any patterns around the world, and it has been circulating in other countries ahead of us that suggest it is more virulent, causing more severe disease. In fact, places like Denmark, when they had that big surge of Omicron that we've all had now, they actually had quite a lot of BA2 already in the mix at that time. And they were able to ease out of their restrictions quite quickly because they weren't seeing hospitalisations in the same number. So in that sense, it looks pretty similar to BA1, thankfully.
Yes, that is encouraging. Catherine, thank you so much.
Thanks, Waleed.